place that over their face, and then you would drip medicine to put them out.
Okay.
And they ran out of that later on, didn't they?
Actually, no.
No,
now
they
the
did
South, we had, they couldn't import it, so they were getting mostly supplied by taking ours in our wagon trains. But the North, I think, out of the whole 4 years of war, there's only 19 surgeries that have been documented that they did not have either Warfront and actually. This is to pull your veins, muscles that have retracted in the body from doing surgery, to pull it forward so that you can tie them off.
Yeah, that's what he said. They didn't usually run out of chloroform.
Yeah. Now, what we normally tell people is that's ended with John Wayne, because by the time the Civil War came along, it just realized it was just damaging the teeth. People have tried leather. We found leather. There's a ton of Civil War bullets that look like they were chewed, and sticks. But they're claiming that we didn't during a regular surgery. We didn't do that. Now, not to say that to help make someone quiet so that they weren't found by the enemy, guys didn't pick something up. That's hard to say. There's plenty of accounts from his time on about doing that. So, and your pewter bullets, you just remelt like another bullet. Recycle.
So what era are you then? You're earlier than the Civil War. You Revolution. They didn't have chlorophyll there then.
No, that was developed in like 48 to 54.
Just in time for the Civil War, 3 years.
Yeah.
Just in time for the Mexican War, I guess, actually.
Well, it came really after the Mexican War, and it wasn't really widely used until the war in the Crimea. The British and the French fighting the Russians. With Florence Nightingale.
Florence Nightingale, of course.
Yeah. And then it went widespread after that. Do you remember what this was for? I know if you were here last year, you had a class on that. Stethoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it works not so good out here because it's got to be quiet. We've got the wind blowing. But that was developed because in the Victorian age, a doctor wasn't allowed to touch a woman that wasn't his wife. So, they only got two things to check: your pulse and your heartbeat. Okay. So to check your heartbeat, to listen to it, the guy would have to lay his head, and that wasn't acceptable. Especially, you could probably get away with the lower classes, but the upper classes you couldn't do that. And this guy was a Frenchman, and he had a really well-endowed customer. And he had to figure out how not to get shot by her husband. So he developed this by just making a wood cone and put this on her chest and listen, and he wasn't breathing, more walls.
See, that was really silly, wasn't it? Because somebody in really bad shape and they're worried about the crimes.
Right. Yeah. Now this one here actually was in use during the our Indian Wars. This was bought from the state from a doctor that circulated was used during that time. But this is the original design from the 1820s coming back. So we don't know for sure. He could have used it during the Civil War, but we know he did use it during the Indian Wars. And then this is the same as this, except that there's clamps on here to put the material over, put over his mouth. It's just another design. Both of these are authentic to the Civil War.
With flesh first, and then
Yep, with the Catgut. You cut everything down to the bone. Clear, a slight space to get the saw in there. This is called a genie saw. It's just like one of our modern survival saws. But somehow I've lost the metal handles. You just grab it. It's all fast. This is diamond, so that it's real fast.
Sharp.
Yeah, very sharp. And of course, these things here, you shape very carefully because you only had so much time, so those things are razor sharp so that you can cut everything down to the bone. If you're cutting 3 to 5, you can't take 15 minutes to cut 3 to 5 because you only have max 15 minutes for your surgery. So you had to go fast. The amounts of chloroform and ether, if we could only give them a little bit, and it didn't put you to sleep, it just put you into your subconscious, because if they put you to sleep, 99% of the time you weren't going to come out. So surgery had to be really fast. So that's why there's reports of guys, the columns of soldiers walking by the hospital and the guys laying on the table moaning, and that's why they started using the word like butcher and stuff like that. They thought they were operating on the soldier without putting him out.
Oh.
But he was out in a surgical sense.
I see.
Yeah.
So that's probably why they thought they were out of chloroform too.
Yeah, and rumors spread so easily. They sit around the campfire and go, we saw them doing surgeries on guys without chloroform or whiskey or nothing. And the next thing you know, you got 30,000 guys thinking, I don't want to go to the hospital.
Yeah, I wouldn't be eager to go either.
Right.
Goodness.
And if rumors are anything like today, it's probably somebody who wasn't within 5 miles of the battle telling the story too.
Right. All kinds of scoops for scooping out the residue of bullets and clothing and leather and clamp for reaching down in there, and that tongue to get it to come out one piece.
Bishop Doc Adams using them guys.
Right, it would be the same tools. We have nurses come through here all the time, especially surgical techs, and they look at the table and they say most of that we still use. Right.
Did any of the Civil War doctors know about germs, or was that almost totally?
That wasn't discovered until right as like 75, 76, as we're going into the Spanish-American War. And actually there was a TV series on in the 70s about that, and it was about a doctor that, unless, I can't remember what it was called, but he goes to the war, and he's like the new wave, the modern doctor, and he catches on to that germ thing, so he's pushing, right. But I mean, basically back then, this guy, when he made this scope, he starts telling people about it. Back then they had societies where, they do lectures and, stuff like that. And so he would tell people, they'd write it up, put it in the newspaper. Well, in order for the word to spread, doctors either had to move, or patients that heard of it, moved and told someone. The word actually had to spread. It wasn't like, okay, I developed it, I'm calling the wood manufacturer, telling them how to make it, and then they start shipping it around the world. That didn't happen. There weren't many new things in medicine. There were only 5 between the War of 1812 and the Civil War. Well, so a lot of our doctors who were in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they were still bleeding people. They still believed in the common use of leeches, stuff like that. And they were up there with Winfield Scott, so they're running the place, and they still set the tone on the equipment that we get, and they're sending that kind of stuff to us. And as the newer doctors are thinking, well, we don't believe so much in the bleeding, so we're not doing it.
Probably.
Right. so so it's word of mouth. And back then there were no laws that said you had to do something specific for something that was done. It was whatever you were taught or whatever you started believing, and you could change how you were doing stuff. There was no malpractice. There's no, you can't sue the doctor because you died. I mean, that's
I
it.
don't know, that's kind of bad today. I think it's kind of tying everything up, too. Doctors are afraid to do anything now.
Right. Yeah, actually, when I was in the Army, I met a couple of guys that they were in the Army because they couldn't afford and didn't want to mess with malpractice suits because you can't sue in the military. And so that's the route they ended up going. And I don't know if maybe they should have been aware or been scared of malpractice or not. But
You weren't too good?
yeah, well, my dentist, we had a bomb scare in our dental clinic, and everybody left before I got there, and all the patients. So after the MPs cleared the building, they said, well, come on in. So I was the only guy there. He puts me in the chair, and he goes, well, you've got like 5 spots that cavities are starting. So he says, I'm going to drill them out and fill them. So long before it was even necessary, he was like using me as a guinea pig. So
Play with this drill.
yeah, and that was, and all of them have gone bad. I've had to, since I got out of the Army, I had to get root canals, and so who knows how worse off or how better off I would have been if he hadn't done that.
I don't know, but they usually say it's still kind of hard around the cavity, let it alone. That they weren't even soft yet, and drilled them out.
Yeah, I didn't have any cavities that I knew of, and he said they were starting, so we drilled them out and filled them.
Goodness. And he charged you too, probably. When the
No,
Army,
it's in the Army,
in the Army
no.
it'd be free.
Yeah, the Army was free.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, when I got off active duty in '88, and it cost like $8.25 to have a kid born. So, to compare that and what they were paying in a civilian hospital at the time, that's quite an incentive to join the military. Do it while you're young, have your kids, they're cheap, then get out.
Put your politics away and pay attention.
500. Yeah, I'm going to Ed Jerry. I think the total bill was just $1,000 in civilian in 1980. Things have really skyrocketed since.
I don't
then.
remember, of course.
I mean, it's just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't dare do maternity either anymore because of lawsuits.
Now that saw actually looks like a gladius, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, sort of. And the funny thing is, this was such a popular design. Most of my stuff I bought off eBay. There are so many saws now that you can buy this exact shape on eBay, and the one guy must have wanted too much money for his, so he changed it from being a medical saw to being a meat cleaver to sell it.
Looks like it'd work as a meat cleaver.
Well, and it probably would, but he probably wanted, like, I probably paid $80 or $90 for that, and I think it was starting like at 50 or something like that. Nobody was bidding, so he probably changed it to meat cleaver, sold it for $20 because he couldn't get what it was really worth, because no one's going to buy that unless they collect medical vintage instruments or they're reenactor.
Right, it's probably a rather rare hobby, really.
Right.
I wouldn't have any use for anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, you could cut with it. It would work.
Yeah, but do you really want to cut meat with something that
No,
amputated
actually.
somebody's arm?
I see what you mean.
I mean, let's be reasonable about this.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we have this ghost in the house. One of the guys that got his arm cut off with the saw, and he got no clue. But even the urinal and the bedpan are authentic from the Civil War.
They're not that different now, actually.
Yeah, made out of plastic now, really.
Yeah, but I mean the shape is.
But right, and you would have found these mostly at a major permanent hospital, because obviously
They aren't gonna travel.
fragile. Yeah, they'd have been packed. But probably the only other this is two different types of material, but the only other thing that would be good for them to use would be like tin,
And that would rust.
and you know, so that.
Where you drive on the left side of the road,
Okay, what's this thing here?
like it's coming towards you, but it has to
It's
be
an
Your
ear horn.
trumpet?
weird. There's pockets.
Try it.
They have one up at Central.
Boy, does it work! It's very loud.
Driving on the left side of
Can you hear me?
This is so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Can you hear me now?
But
Okay, now just remember the cannons are you know, probably the most of the culprit. Now the guys are supposed to be standing so far apart that when you're firing and you're not where you're supposed to be, it's loud in your ear. But if you're standing where you're supposed to be, it's not that bad. But you know, any damage or how soft your ears are or whatever, that's, you know, everybody's going to be different. But this was actually bought from a vet's estate. Got invalid feeders over here. You know, the guys would have been on broth diets, you know, for the most part, depending on what their problem is. And as the hospital steward, which is what I am, you're responsible for gathering things to make medicines, or ordering what we could get our hands on. I've got this right here was an actual Civil War time period. This was a kit like this. It was folded out. This is all that's left of it. And then this is probably just after the Civil War, just from the snap assembly there.
And then you've got your pill roller.
Yep, pill roller. You make everything into like a clay or Play-Doh consistency, and I can make either suppositories or regular medicine with this. I've got, actually this was an officer's pill bottle. So he put his pills, you know, like we do now. Just put your pills in there and carry it in your pocket. And stay safe. It's made out of pewter, and this actually, I want to say this might be War of 1812 time period. I've got this is interesting. Okay, so you've got a wound, and you got to apply medicine directly to the wound. Well, use your finger, or you can use one of these probes, get it in there, get the medicine on it instead of your finger, you know, move it around. And that's from an estate from the Civil War doctor. And then I've got several different bleeder cups. I've got two different sizes for of glass, where you heat them up and you put them over like where you cut to draw the blood out, because clear up to the Civil War we still thought that what was wrong with you was in your blood. That's why they were bleed people. By getting the bad blood out, your body makes new blood, and that helps make you better. And then of course a fuel one that would travel better, so this is made out of tin. So of course, I don't know which one would hurt most, heating them up or putting it on your skin.
I don't think there is a non-hurting version.
Yeah. And this is from that he fashioned wrist splint for his arm when it got hurt. Just tie that up.
Did they use leeches too, or just?
Well, those were still acceptable, but they were falling out of favor because people were starting to believe that bleeding wasn't necessary, wasn't doing what everybody, you know, understanding of the anatomy, you know, and what the blood was doing.
Okay.
That was starting to change, so people were getting away from that, but some still did. My dad, with his display. He's actually got a tin leech box, and has a leech in it, and then it's a rubber fishing lure. And there's actually 2 farms in the United States that make medical leeches.
They raise them?
Yep, they raise them because there are people that still believe in that. You know, that they're getting away from the modern and trying to do the holistic health, and and they get away from that. One of the things that we discovered by accident was really in the South. They didn't have sutures. You know, they didn't have.
Right.
We used silk or cotton, and in the North, for really bad ones, you could use this real thin metal to help sew it up, so it'd be real strong. Well, the South, I forget what the metal name is for the type, but
Horsehair?
this is horsehair, and since the South, you know, most of their stuff was provided by the blockade, they kept running out of silk and or the cotton that they were raising, and they had to come up with another way. Well, somebody remembered something that had happened. They had boiled horsehair to use it for something, and it makes it extremely pliable. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. So they went out and started cutting the horsehair off their tails or their manes, putting that in water, and they were sewing it up. But did you catch what I said they did with it? Put it in boiling water.
And it sterilized it.
Sterilized, right. So after a long period of time, people started going,
Just to the horse.
these guys are getting better faster than these guys with less infections. But we didn't really understand that until after the Civil War. But because of the Civil War, that led to that being discovered.
But they never really used catgut to sew, did they? Was that a myth?
I've never heard that.
You know, there was talked about catgut being used for suturing, but then was that just a myth? They didn't really. Probably.
I haven't even read anything that said that. But I mean, if you're desperate for something, maybe
I think maybe it was a myth.
Now, I've always heard of using catgut in tennis rackets. You know, for the strings. So we know it's strong. Any more questions?
No, that's...
No. Thank you. That's very
Thank you.
interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. What was your name?
Jeff Tate,
Okay.
21st OBI.
Yeah,
And you're the apothecary. Or
Hospital steward.
hospital
Who
steward.
is responsible for the actual hospital and its contents, making the medicine, providing the food for the patients, and then being like the head nurse and keeping the other staff organized and moving so that the doctor can do his stuff.
Well, how would you have felt about women volunteers? I saw a show about it, Mercy Street. A lot of them didn't really like them much.
I haven't really formed an opinion on that, although I think that series sucks. And,
It's kind of strange.
Once they tried to kill the hospital steward in there and his death confession, I haven't watched it
Yeah,
since.
I know.
But
It's got bad.
actually, my dad got started reenacting because his great-grandfather was wounded at Stones River, which is Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and he was shot in the ankle, and he ended up becoming invalid corps. And he didn't want to go home to the farm. He stayed to do whatever duties were needed, like pole guard duty or whatever. And he ended up getting selected to be a nurse.
Oh.
And we still have the silk handkerchief that used to pass through his wound to make sure that the bones were not all broken off, and it was a clean cut, and diaries and all kinds of stuff from that. And he started reenacting in 96 or 97 in his honor. And he had 5 brothers serve, but they were all in different units. And that's what got us going. But we needed the nurses, obviously.
Right.
But I think they found out it wasn't, the battlefield probably wasn't a place.
It seems like it would have been a rude shock to them. They kind of go there with this romantic idea, I'm going to help, and then they realize, oh my gosh.
Well, just the carnage of it, but it was the Victorian era.
Right.
And all of a sudden, they're having to deal with guys that their clothes have been removed, and that wasn't proper, and
No, certainly not.
and so Dorothea Dix's standards on what a woman was supposed to be to work there, so that the guys wouldn't fall in love with them and it would interfere. That's just kind of weird to me.
They needed to be older and not too attractive.
Yeah, not too attractive. Wear black or gray clothing. And there were a lot of male volunteers, though, like Walt Whitman. His brother was shot, and he went. I think his brother ended up dying, but he stayed and kept, nursing and helping out with that. But yes, I don't really know. I know that women are doing it in combat now, but we also the Victorian era morals are way different
that
than
would
what
have
we
been
have now.
absolutely. I mean, that would have been such a culture shock.
Yeah.
And then they said sometimes they would send their troublesome spinsters to the Warfront too. Like the local pastor would volunteer.
Yeah, I've got
Yes,
one book
whoever.
talks about that. And then she shows up, just give me a boy to run errands and show me the soldier that I'm supposed to heal up.
Yeah, she makes demands.
Yeah, that would be
That's
horrible.
something.
Well, good talking to you.
All right, thank you. Come back if you think any more questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love her dress. That is so pretty, that green dress.
My mom actually made that.
Did she?